I tried to entice people into coming to watch the stream because I have a good shirt on.
Oh, we are now live.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I have a good shirt on.
Come for the costuming.
Do we have anybody watching? Do we know?
Let me look.
I mean, I pinged a couple places, so theoretically a friend might show up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that link you posted, James?
We have
the one
zero-
we can give for streaming?
Yeah, it should definitely. Oh, we got Quantum Kind. Hey, Carol here. That is a great shirt. There you go.
Hello, Chad. How's it going?
All right. Oh, Sylvan Vixen. We're getting
Oh,
some
hey, there's-
connections.
Hey,
Yes.
people we know.
People.
Hey. All right. Steve, I know it's been like 2 years or whatever, but go ahead and do your thing.
I do the thing?
You
I can
always do the thing.
Welcome to 1d4Cast, the podcast about role-playing games.
And
Tonight,
endings.
For our final episode ever, because we decided to knock this shit off. We have myself, Steve, my little sister Katie, Heather, Paul,
Hi.
Monica, and our lovely host,
Lovely. Ooh,
James.
I like being
How is
lovely.
everyone doing tonight?
He is rather lovely.
We're doing all right.
Doing pretty good.
I'm feeling good because I'm wearing a shirt I haven't been able to wear in 2 years.
Hey.
Nice.
I've lost some
Lot of-
weight.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Lot
can
of-
see a little
yeah,
bit on
yeah.
you. You look
Look at
good.
So, it
I'm a
looks
little
brand new,
sunburned.
even though it's like 2 years old. Oh my goodness. So hey, so this is our farewell episode, and it's bittersweet. I'm not gonna lie. I know we haven't really put out anything in like a year. It was May of last year, I think, was the last thing that we posted.
I was about to ask.
So we lost the very last episode of Mistborn because I didn't have a track, the actually most important track, because I think he did the most in it. So I couldn't post that. I still have the post-mortem that I'm just not even going to edit. I'm just going to post it. And that'll
it
come out.
it really will be post-mortem.
So yeah, so that'll finally come out, and then this will be it. So while we are streaming now live on August 14th, in the podcast feed, it won't come out for a couple of weeks because I'm going to post the postmortem first. But yes, I'm rusty. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
worries.
yeah.
It's been a year, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that we're leaving, but most of us are still sticking around, and we'll talk about a little bit that later, doing various things within the RPG community. But I did want to say that you can connect to us on the 1d4Cast Discord. I'm sorry, 1d4Con Discord.
And in case anybody's concerned, 1d4Con is not going away.
Yeah, no.
No,
Oh, yeah,
we'll
we
address
still-
that in a minute. Yeah.
Mhm.
Heather's jumping ahead there.
Yeah. No. It's fine. That's great. But we will address that in a minute because we did get a question asking about 1d4Con. So, and we'll address that actually first once we get to the questions. I did want to say, Monica, your podcast is still going really strong. I listened to it. I back your Patreon, and I get the special feed that comes out early. So,
Yeah.
you want to go ahead and plug it?
Yeah, sure. Hello, bonus experience audience. I see you out there. I posted it to the BXP Discord to be like, hey, come send off the podcast that started it all. And it looks like people did. If you still want to hear more of me, you can always listen to bonus experience. That's going to continue for the foreseeable future. We are 2 episodes away from the end of our current season. And then it will be the off season, and we will do some weird stuff with our community. So if you are not already in the BXP community, feel free to join us. Last year during the off season, I hosted a Malifaux tournament on the website, and that was really, really fun. It was a real fun, like, learn to play kind of event. who knows what we'll do this year. Ray was threatening to play Disco Elysium for everybody.
Threatening?
Yeah, threatening. Yeah.
I don't know anything about this, so I don't.
Bonus experience is a fear-based community.
Yeah.
Fear.
Yeah. So you can,
Ruled by an iron Monica?
yeah, something like that. So you can always come hear more of that if you'd like hearing me talk about tabletop RPGs. I've also been a guest on Mage the Podcast. Terry sent us in a question. That's
It's also a good podcast.
Yes,
podcast.
it's
I
very
love
good
that podcast.
Yeah, you should also listen to that. Terry actually edits our episodes sometimes. Hello, Terry. I hope you're watching. I'm not actually looking at the stream, so I don't know if he is or not. And speaking of other podcasts that are more or less over, if you want to hear me explain Exalted to you with Terry of Mage the Podcast and our friend Chaz, who is also a very prolific podcaster, you can go listen to the Systematic Understanding of Everything, in which we give you the 101 on what Exalted is about and how to play it.
Oh, and how to play it. Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple
Diverse.
basically like tutorial episodes, both for 3rd edition and for Exalted Essence. So yeah, that's what I got going on.
All right. Excellent. So I also want to plug in Prismatic Tsunami. They have 2 podcasts that they're doing right now. They have their Metagamers Anonymous, which is a good show if you really want to get into talking about like deep character and immersive play and stuff. That's where they mostly focus. Even though it's Metagamers Anonymous, it's just the name they stuck with. And then they also have one where they review movies, and it's called Exposition Street. I'll put links to those in the show notes. Actually, I'll probably put them in the notes for this video too. And then they also run a convention called TsunamiCon, and that's based out of Wichita, Kansas. And that's going to be running October 21st to 23rd. So they're going back. This is their first year going back into live space, not just Discord. And so if you live in the Wichita area, I recommend giving it a try. Eric, who runs it, is a great person, and I hear the convention is pretty top notch. So on to the bittersweet side of the show. You know what? Before we talk good questions, how about we do this? Monica talked a little bit. I've talked a little bit. Let's start with Paul, and we'll move around to Steve, Kate, and an H, and you guys can tell us what you've been doing the past year.
So I've become the head of Pathfinder Society for the DMV, and I'm second in charge for the Nova region as well. We're helping out at cons. We're getting a lot of stores up and running with games running, trying to help people get businesses, gamers back into businesses, playing, reconnecting. So I've been working a lot with that. It's majority of my thing. I'm now part of Paizo's officer forums for that as well. So every con that happens in the area, I'm always at helping out. Been playing a fair amount of Exalted when I can with a group down here. So it's been a lot of fun. Running campaigns, running games, pretty much 3-4 times a week.
Oh,
So,
very nice.
Been very busy.
Speaking of Exalted, Chaos Dude 7111 says he still kind of wants to play some Exalted Essence with you, Monica.
Sweet.
So
I need to learn Essence as well.
also hello to both Carol and
so we have
friends.
Quantum Kind,
Yeah.
Sylvan Vixen,
Yeah. Hello.
the man with no screen name, Quicksilver Fox 85, Chaos Dude 71111, and that's it. That's who's so far chatted with us. So thank you guys.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome, Jack.
Thank you for coming and hanging out.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Appreciate
everybody. So okay, let's move over to Steve. Steve, what have you been doing for the last year?
In terms of role-playing games, not a
Yeah.
whole lot. I'm with we're playing a game with H. What were we playing See, if we recorded a year ago, May of last year, we were playing Monster of the Week, I believe.
That was probably Monster of the Week, yeah.
And then now we're playing Worlds Without Number, which is the variant of Stars Without Number. It's I don't know how I describe Worlds Without Number. It feels like almost feels like an old school role playing game, but slightly more freeform. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. I don't know. It's H has her own take on how it works. So, well, not how it works, but the setting in general. So she's kind of riffing off of the base setting a bit, but she's using a lot of the tables and things. I'm sure she'll talk a lot about that when we get to her. Other than that, not a whole lot going on for role playing games in my life. I'm kind of deep into VR in my job life. I'm working in Unreal Engine to create virtual environments for our my work with construction equipment. Kind of exciting. We're doing a pilot project for that. I hope that it can go a lot further for virtual reality where I work.
That's awesome.
They set up this pilot project. I said, if you don't put me in this right now, I will find where you live and I will kill you. And they're like, we like your gumption, kid.
Gumption.
You got Moxie.
Moxie.
Is
Yeah.
that how your manager talks to you? You have some gumption, kid? Is that you work for a noir detective?
I just still like the fact that kid is still used for
Yeah.
I exaggerate slightly.
Chaos Dude is my friend Scarlett, and their pronouns are they, them.
Oh,
Hello.
I'm sorry. Yes, okay.
I didn't recognize the screen name at first either.
Okay,
Now I know who it is.
Kay also just waved.
Okay. Hello. Okay.
So, all right, Katie.
I mean, things have obviously been a little bit slow. Working mostly. And in my spare time, I seem to jump in and out of car trunks and maybe be a little bit spooky. And yeah, recently I got turned into a spider, so you know.
So you haven't changed.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful, obviously, to Heather, to Monica, to Steven, to Anissa, to Sean, to everybody in our Tuesday gaming group that we've been able to continue getting together throughout the pandemic. There was not a lot of breaks that we took. Even like early on, we played outside. We sat far apart. When cases got really high, we took a little bit of a break, but it has absolutely still been one of my highlights, one of the main highlights throughout these last couple of years.
That's awesome.
Oh,
The couple times we played outside, honestly, that was really fun.
It was,
We
yeah.
should just
Those
do
are the
that.
days.
Yeah, like that should just be a thing that we do. We don't have to use COVID as an excuse. You could just
Right.
you can just play outside.
Just sit out back in some comfy chairs and enjoy the weather and maybe have some s'mores.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was great.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Every time we were outside playing, James was hitting me with foam baseball bats for some reason.
In a dress.
Me?
Yeah, in a dress or throwing stuff at me.
I looked great in that dress. I
You
had
did
to
look
know.
great in that dress.
Hey, I got to spray the king as a skunk.
But anyway, H, how have you been for the last year?
well, gaming wise, I run probably more than I should. Because I have a weekly Exalted Essence game on Wednesdays with Monica and some of our local friends. Every other week, I have the Tuesday Word Without Number game with Katie, Steve, then more of our friends. And then I started playing with some of my more distant friends, originally Delta Green and then Lancer over COVID via Discord. And then the GM got had family stuff, so he wasn't available. So right now I'm trying to finish up a Traveler game for them that runs theoretically every week, but in practice more like once a month, because there are multiple people involved who have children. So,
Oh yeah.
uh, and it's one of those things that all of these games have at one point, or all of these groups at one point number run over like remote stuff, which I'm very happy as possible. As like I said, this is by far my favorite hobby. I would feel bereft without it. That being said, I've really learned that I find it draining to run online in a way it's not draining to me to run in person. Like in person, I'm good to go for hours and hours and hours. Online, I struggle with too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm very happy that most of my games are back in person. It's nice to see everybody's smiling faces. The food's better.
Sometimes you don't have to make it yourself.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit. So I'm very happy about that. I'm still working on a bunch of freelance stuff and like my own designs when I have time. But because my day job went from being like when I had worked at for a decade basically, that I was basically able to just sort of autopilot through every day, to one where I'm much more engaged. I didn't realize how much mental bandwidth I would be using up, and then so I have trouble doing my freelance work just after work these days, which means that I have maybe less time than I want for personal projects. So that's something I'm dealing with now. But that being said, my group, like I always love running for people in person, which is always great. It's super fun to run word with that number for that group in turning Katie into a spider. I really loved at first playtesting and just running Exalted Essence for the group with Monica. And like I like running Traveler for my Monday group whenever the stars line and we actually get to play that. Though honestly, at this point, I've hit the point with Traveler where I'm like, okay, I'd want to hit this with a wrench if I was going to run it again for long term. So I can't stop from wanting to tweak stuff and mess with stuff, which is I think part of why I like the hobby so much, because I can do that in a way I can't with like say computer games. So
Absolutely. So thank you so much. The last year, actually, I haven't had an in-person game since 1d4Con 2019. Unless you count my kids. I actually did get to run a game of Marvel Heroic with them.
oh,
Nice.
And all they did is really like, I just walked them through. It was like, hey, what power do you want to use on your sheet? And they just built their pool and they rolled it. And I kind of did everything for them because, my girls are 6 going on 7 and my son's 8 going on 9. So, but all 3 of them had a good time. They saved the dolphins from being spray painted pink.
Good.
We used the breakout event, and I used heavy liberties. So
That does sound very Marvel.
so they were very happy to save the dolphins.
I'm so glad the day was saved.
Yeah.
It was. Outside of that, I did pick up the D&D board game, Adventure Begins, and have tried that with the kids. That one's a little bit harder because of the way it's kind of, I guess, all the different moving parts. It's kind of harder for them rather than just rolling dice and being done with it. Marvel Heroic was nice, even though it's Cortex, and Cortex is very crunchy. The sheets were pre-made. Everything was. They just rolled a bunch of dice and I interpreted it for them, so it worked out pretty well.
Is that the new system that they're playtesting that you ran, or is that the older one from Margaret Wise? I can't remember.
Well, it was Cortex Plus, but I updated it to use stuff from Prime.
Okay.
It's the one that I ran. I've been running at the online conventions. Obviously not with the Dolphins, but
Now that must make an appearance.
Yeah, when are you going to run the version with the dolphins for me, James?
Yeah.
Punk
dolphins. Yeah, I want to see that.
Hey, anytime, really. we'll get it going. And
Yes.
outside of that, my gaming has mostly been about once a month, or every couple of months, I've been running a Mage and Changeling Chronicles of Darkness crossover game. So it's 3 mages and 1 changeling, and you would think that the mages would be very, very powerful, but the changeling has some awesome stuff to it. So she keeps up pretty well with the rest of the group, and that's pretty much that's been running. Even though we've ran about 5 sessions, it feels like an episode or a season of 24 where they're still in the same day. We haven't gotten very far in the day, but we've had 5 full sessions. So anyway,
Speaking of board games, like I forgot to mention, I did get the big honkin' set for the re-release of Hero Quest, and I have yet to play it.
is that a legitimate re-release?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Katie, do you wanna
Sign
see
me
it?
up, Katie.
Yeah.
I would be like, yeah.
I was just about to say, we don't have Sean this Tuesday. Do you want to see if Nisa wants to?
Ooh. That would be interesting. It's one of those things. I don't know if it can be played in our usual, like we usually do about 2 hours. I don't know
Yeah,
if
that's
one
true.
would be more than 2 hours. This big honking thing.
Does it have the supplements like the Silver Tower and all that stuff in it?
hmm
That's
Like
awesome.
I went all in and got like the extra expansions too, so it has more
Nice.
quest books and all that sort of fun stuff.
That's awesome.
More
That's
Hero
cool.
Quest.
God, that would be
More
awesome
Hero
to
Quest.
play.
More Hero Quest.
Oh.
All right. So let's go ahead and move into our topic. So, Terry wrote in, and I guess I confused him because I posted it in the 1d4Con Discord, and I guess he thought the convention was ending. The convention is not ending, as H related earlier. We're just staying virtual for now. I'm waiting for a hotel that we really, really liked, the one we had in 2019, to open back up after renovations and COVID and all that fun stuff. They're still shut down. But if for whatever reason they don't open back up, then I'll move on. But I feel like I burned some bridges with some other hotels having to pull out last minute because of COVID, and no one wants to call me back. So we're kind of stuck right now being virtual. Other than that,
I guess if anyone watching, all 6 of you, know of any hotels in that area.
yeah. So we run it in Shepherdstown is where we last had our in person, and that's kind of where I like to be near DC but not in DC, because traffic is crazy and all that fun stuff. So
you could have just left that at because traffic.
because traffic.
Yeah.
So when it takes you an
66.
hour to go, 10 miles, that's kind of a problem.
Just don't take 66. You'll be fine.
Or 7, or 495,
Or 395.
or I-95.
Or Road 1, as James used to call it.
Road 1. I said Route 1.
No, you said Road 1 that one time we got lost.
That was
And
great.
I'm like, I know where Route 1 is, but I don't know where Road 1 is.
I was stressed out, but that was great.
Just
Oh,
Steve
gosh,
driving
yeah.
around and around and around the Pentagon was fun.
Oh, yeah.
All
And then
right.
we went to Dolphins.
So,
Guys, we're at Dulles. How did we get here?
but Terry has asked, how has the convention operation changed over the course of time? Well, our group is smaller. We used to have Anthony and Samantha and Marcus and a couple other people that had John. A lot of people have kind of dropped off due to various reasons, but I feel like our convention has gotten bigger. The operation side has changed, but the actual attendance has gotten bigger. We've moved up, and I mean we're still small, but we moved up to the 300 person convention.
I think one of the biggest unavoidable things was as D&D 5th edition burst in popularity again, and you ended up at one point we had a much bigger percentage of non-D&D games,
Yeah.
non-D&D, non-Pathfinder games,
Yeah.
and when we had it in person again, well, back when we had it last time we had it in person, it was swinging much more towards D&D, and specifically towards D&D organized play.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, I think organized play becomes the real game they want to play, which isn't bad, but it's something we need to think about, especially when trying to make sure we have enough to offer. And also, what are we interested in offering? Because I can't speak for anybody else, but I know, like, I'm not involved in D&D organized play.
Yeah, me neither.
Neither.
With Spelljammer coming out, who knows? But generally speaking, D&D, like modern D&D, is not particularly my bag, especially organized play, because I like messing with things and tinkering, and organized play is sort of the opposite of that. So,
I would definitely love to see more of like the indie stuff. I was really happy we had a strong showing of Cthulhu there every year. And in the DC region, I talked to people, and they're like, "No one plays Cthulhu. No, I can never find Cthulhu." Oh, and I'm like, "Here's like 6 games going off at a con. What? Where? When? How can I get there?" And I'm like,
Yeah, Angela, formerly of Rogue Cthulhu, because I think they've kind of changed how they run things, and she's not really affiliated anymore. Maybe, sorta, but she does a good showing. She'll run a game every slot, and then in 2019 she brought in 2 other people to run some more games. So we had a couple more games on the schedule. They were last minute, but we did get them. Yes, H, you're right. When we first started, we were very 50-50, if not 60-40, but it was still pretty even between organized play and non-organized play. And that has definitely changed. We D&D and Pathfinder, obviously Pathfinder is the lesser showing. Sorry, Paul. But D&D does get Darian is very good at going and pulling people in to run games, getting 15 tables a slot and stuff like that when we're in person. So kind of got to take what I can get to get people to come in. I can't offer people things that no one wants to run.
Well, that even changed the logistics of setup and that kind of stuff from, hey, this group of people will consistently need 4 tables together, to, hey, this group of people need 15 tables.
Yeah.
We need a room that they can all be in.
Yeah.
going to a number of conventions in the region that have started back up in person, I have been noticing a lot more indie games, truthfully.
Yeah.
Indie games,
Great.
board games a lot. And organized play stuff is there. I would say I saw at AwesomeCon 4 tables a slot go off for D&D, and Pathfinder had about 2-3 tables go off.
Okay.
But I would see homebrew systems. I would see Powered by the Apocalypse systems. Root was a popular one. I would see just a lot of these, smaller indie games going off more popularly. So it might have, in my opinion, has kind of changed pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic. What I'm seeing in conventions, a lot of board games though, like just a sea of them at some points in time. Like the card games, like the board card games, people are just sitting down playing those, having fun, because it's the atmosphere feels like it's changed a little bit too in the hobby.
Yeah. If anyone is interested in getting indie games back to 1d4Con, I have been talking with Dennis, goes by Rude Guy on the Discord. He wants to start up a similar thing to Games on Demand, and I've been trying to work out something with him as we get closer to coming back to in person. We wouldn't be affiliated with Games on Demand, but it'd be something similar. So I think it'd be pretty cool. I just need to get more people who want to actually run that kind of model.
That's always a challenge.
Yeah, it is. It is. Let's see here. So the man with no screen name says, don't use 95 as a rule. Don't use anything using 95 as a rule. And then I could see board games spending a huge part of 2020 and 2021 indoors. People are going to develop a taste in board games, and ditto for card games. Yeah, so I agree.
And a lot of those,
not gonna lie, if it, like when we have the next live 1d4Con, here's hoping. I have like literally all of Root, and I don't get to play it enough, so I can see myself at least blocking out plenty of time to try to get like run Root with all the fixings.
Hey, next weekend we should ask everybody if they want to play Root.
I'll tell you this, H. There's a weekly game that goes off at a store I work at, I help out at, of Root, and I watch it. I'm like, that looks really cool.
Root is Risk, but with cute woodland animals.
Oh, okay.
And the role-playing game, I understand, uses the Powered by the Apocalypse system. At least that's my understanding.
It's probably adjacent.
It is.
Oh, okay.
It is. I wrote one adventure for one of the upcoming books.
Nice.
Yeah. That was fun.
Sylvan Vixen says, I hear Thirsty Sword Lesbians has been making an impressive showing at cons. I have a copy of the game. I have not had a chance to play the game. I really want to play the game. I did not buy a physical copy. I bought the PDF off the Kickstarter.
I have it, and Advanced Lovers and Lesbians.
Oh, nice.
Which is the best name for a supplement.
Yeah.
It is.
That is impressive marketing.
And you almost got a spit take out of me.
And it is a cute send up of the classic D&D cover.
Yeah. I remember them taking the gem out of the eye socket. Yep. Yeah. Well, the man with no screen name says Root is Risk with animals. You say? You have my attention.
Yeah, that's Herring, our buddy from college.
Yeah,
yeah.
I see it played, and it's like, if I wasn't running this game, I'd be over there checking that out.
But the board game is legitimately great, as well as being adorable. And like I said, it's one of those games I have too much. I have literally all of it, except for the resin clearing markers. I have everything else. And I've gotten to play it with most of the fixings a couple times because our locals are very, very how should I say, they put up with my bullshit a lot. So our friends Brian and Beth have hosted us over there playing Root sometimes, taking up their whole living room.
They also really like it. You're making this sound like we just tie these people down and force them to play I almost said video games. Force them to play board games? No, we were like, hey, do you want to try this? And fortunately, there are people who are, like you said, cool with trying anything. We're usually like, you want to play this game? And they're like, we'll give it a go. Not all of them are winners, but everybody really liked Root. And then after we kind of had one really long game, people were like, what if we, instead of doing this as a, does anybody want to play Root kind of off the cuff, what if we just planned to play Root? Yeah.
I have been curious to see how the new Essence 20 systems are going to play out. I've been looking at some of the books for that I got, and I'm just curious. I haven't read them yet, but I'm like, it looks interesting, at least from someone of my era.
Why don't we? It sounds like we were leaving the convention topic behind. Do we want to keep going down the list?
Well, yeah, let's move on.
Take any other questions from the. Does anybody in the stream have questions?
I just posted that. I said, hey, if anyone has questions for us, we'll read them throughout the show. So we'll move on with the questions that we have written down here. So now, okay, here we go. Then and now, what was your favorite RPG up to 3? When the podcast was formed back in 2010, and what are they now in 2022?
You asked me to remember 10 years ago. I can't remember last week at this point.
Give it an estimate, Steve. Come on.
I'm working on that. It's like, let's see. Oh, wow.
Okay. If people are trying to think, I'll give it a go. So 10 years ago, still firmly post-college. Actually, that was right after I moved up here. So my answers are going to be Weapons of the Gods. Okay. High-powered Wuxia RPG by one of the authors is Jenna Moran, who's brilliant. Mm-hmm. sort of in the same vein of Exalted in some ways. Had a really unique dice system I really liked. And the lore sheet system is still revolutionary and unmatched. Vampire 5th edition just took it, which I don't blame them for. It's great. And one of those things that is a system I've loved and has inspired me ever since. So at the time, that was one of my favorites. So 10 years ago, D&D 4th edition, still at that point, still fresh in the mind. Love the tactical gameplay, love the giant pile of options. I'm a sucker for a giant pile of options. Blown me away, totally there. And I'm still thinking a decade back, Rogue Trader, the Warhammer 40k game, a thundering juggernaut of a mess of a system. Honestly, probably the worst version of that particular system, like with the most problems in it, but just so much cool, evocative stuff. The most interesting slice of the 40k universe, and one that I'd like to see, like something like that, separated from 40k. But I had gotten a run for people for that for a while. So definitely at the time, I think that was probably it. So 10 years ago, those were my three then.
And what are they now?
Okay. So since then, I ended up basically rewriting Weapons of the Gods from people for a while because of some of the problems. Because it came out like in the early 2000s, but came up. Rogue Trader is no longer being made by FFG because the license places, and honestly, the problem at this point, running it would be like mostly house rules, that sort of thing. And D&D 4th edition again, never really got the capstone it deserved, and has all sorts of weird problems. Like the whole feat system in 4th edition is a mess, despite as well the things work. So none of those three quite qualify anymore. So my favorite RPGs. Okay, I'm gonna have three different ones for different things. So the first one's going to be Fate. Now the thing is, I've run so much Fate in the past 10 years that I honestly would hesitate for doing it again. But Fate does a lot of the stuff I'm interested in, like as far as competent characters, action, the ability for me to tinker with it really easily, really well. So I do love Fate, and the fact that players could engage on a fairly simple level with stuff, but if I wanted to tinker my ass off to add extra rules and stuff, I could do that. Katie and Steve played in like the Kung Fu Pirates game I ran, and so did Monica. Monica's that too.
Yeah, I was there too.
Which is a case of I can mess around with all these things, but people can still just play Fate, and if you understand how the aspects work, it works. So Fate's going to be up there. Then I'm going to go to Exalted Essence. It's kind of a cheat because I worked on it, but I think it's by far the best version of Exalted that's come out.
It's not cheating if you like it.
Yeah, it's certainly my favorite. I'm still having a blast running it on Wednesdays. It's weird that when it comes to tinkering with it, because I wrote some of the stuff for it, but once it comes out all the way, I will be tinkering with it more and probably annoy Monica. But as she was the developer of it, right. Like as far as games go, very much up there for me. And the third favorite of the so this is gonna be weird, but I'm gonna say Lancer, because sort of as far as tactical games go, amazing. I love mecha games. Also, one of those things that it was announced and came out while I was still fucking around with my mecha game, so sort of at one point I was sort of mopey about it, but it is a brilliant, fun game, and like I say, I like tactical games. So that's definitely up there for me too. Like I said, got to play a bunch of it online. The fan base is great for putting stuff on Foundry for all sorts of automatic integration with it. Like to the point where like that makes that game so easy to run on Foundry, even with all the the heavy duty tactical stuff. I'm very impressed with it. So that'll probably be my third one. So
awesome. Who would like to go next? You don't have to do three, just up to three. Go ahead, Paul.
Paul's volunteering.
I'll volunteer. So 2010, 20 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years
it
ago.
was
12.
10 years ago.
12.
Maybe 12.
Yeah.
This month is our 12th year anniversary.
I had just moved down here, so I was still trying to find the gaming scene. I would say Exalted, because we were still playing in Monica's Exalted game. That was 2nd edition Exalted, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
That was a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I loved it.
that would have ended
Right before.
right before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Ochre Fountain.
Game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be definitely one of them. Had a lot of fun with that. I've always liked the Exalted system, and I never got the chance to really delve into it. And at that point, I was like, delved in as hard as I could, and I just enjoyed the fudge out of it. 4th edition D&D was out, which I'm trying to remember games I played at that. I started playing more Pathfinder at that point, which was 3.75 D&D, if you want to get the fun labeling for that. No, I didn't play it as much. I played it a little bit. I enjoyed playing it. I hated running it. So mostly playing that. Dark Heresy was my 3rd one. I ran some campaigns in that, and I found I really enjoy making creepy stuff to make the players feel uncomfortable. It's so much fun, especially when I think back to some of the stuff Steve did to me, and I'm like, oh, I hate you still for that doctor with the needle hands. Thanks. Anytime I want to think of something creepy, I'm like, how did that make me feel? Now, how can I inflict that?
I'm glad I'm a formative experience for you.
Yeah. Some of my players right now that I'm running games are like, how do you get this creep? Like I did a murder hotel one, and they're like, this is incredibly creepy. I'm like, thanks. I had inspiration.
I got you, man.
So that would be my my games from 10 years ago.
Now you're talking about 1st edition Dark Heresy, not 2nd, right?
The same one that's in the realm that Henry's Rogue Trader was in. So I believe
that was
that's first. Yes.
First.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was the one.
Heather's game was in 1st edition.
Yeah, Heather's game. Sorry, and because that was the start of the entire Dark Heresy, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. So thank you, H. So that would be mine. Now, Exalted still. I'm in a group that we've been playing for 2 years now, once a month, and it's just so much fun. And now Pathfinder 2nd edition, but it's different. I prefer running it more than anything else. It's the first time. It's the first time I've ever sat down, picked up a book, ran, and I'm like, holy crap! I completely understand every single little thing that's happening. And for me, was never something I'd experienced before the system, but I was like, I can experience it, wing it, roll it, just do whatever. So, fallen deeply in love with that. But also Exalted because it's just those 2 worlds. I really love the worlds so much. A 3rd game,
optional. You don't have to have it.
I kind of feel like there's like a couple in there that I could think of, but I really can't say one that's like. There is one I'm excited to try. The new G.I. Joe RPG.
Oh, okay.
I just bought the book.
Is that Renegade Games?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep. Because it's supposed to, I don't know if it's going to be
They
compatible.
did Power Rangers as well.
Yes, I bought that as well. And I also got a pre-order for the Transformers as well, because, well, you know, I like Transformers. So I'm going to say, like, I want to try, I really am excited about the Roll20 Essence system, or the, what is it called? Essence 20 system. So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
You know, we picked up the Power Ranger. We went to the Adventurers Guild. Y'all remember the Adventurers Guild?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to the Adventurers Guild today. That for our viewers, the Adventurers Guild is a local game store to us, or to H and I currently. That was like the place to go if you were a nerd when we were back in college.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When it was still in that weird little hole in the wall right outside of Harrisburg.
Yep,
Yeah.
like on
With,
the
like,
back side of
Like the building with like no windows. Now it's in a very nice store.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's surrounded by restaurants.
Yes, it's surrounded by restaurants and has big lots on one side. So if you want to go buy yourself a bunch of off-brand snacks to eat while you're playing D&D, you can. Yeah, we were up there and I was flipping through the copy of the Power Rangers game, and I was like, "Oh, this is the thing they used 5th edition for. Can't believe they would do that." And then I saw it said Essence 20, and I was like, "Oh, maybe that's different." And I also saw, because I also like to flip open RPG books and see who I know in the credits, and I saw Eddie Webb worked on it, and he did Pugmire,
Right.
and Pugmire uses a really clean, simple version of 5th edition.
Oh, okay.
And I'm wondering if he had something to do with that design.
No.
From what I've read so far, it feels a little clean, like Mucka said, but also cortexy. In the fact it has scaling dice.
Interesting.
Okay.
So I don't know how to describe that yet, because I mean, like, that's me just cracking open the book, sitting down, reading it on the beach, and I'm like, I like this. I'm liking what I'm reading, but seeing it how it crunches out and everything. So that's where I'm at on that.
All right. Who would like to go next?
I can
guess-
follow. You want to go? Go ahead.
Sure. Because I think my answer is going to be a little bit different. Because back 10 years ago, 2012, or 12 years ago, 2010, like, as far as games go, I was really only exposed to what people would run. And when it comes to regular pen and paper RPGs, that is still very much the case. Back at that time, I guess the 2 games that I enjoyed the most were Shadowrun and World of Darkness. They were also the only 2 games that I myself ever ran. So I knew I'd enjoy the systems enough for that. And I was sitting here when you first posed that question, thinking, I'm like, I have like these days I just run whatever or play whatever is run, but I'm like, oh, wait, what am I surrounded by that I wasn't surrounded by 10 years ago? Oh, board games. That is definitely where my gaming focus has changed over the last 10 years, is towards board games.
Board game aficionado.
I don't know about that. Just
Way to strike me down.
Well, aficionado implies that I know what I'm doing or what I'm talking about.
Connoisseur. We'll use connoisseur.
Connoisseur.
I don't know, hoarder. Because I was even looking around at them, trying to think, like, can I pick 3 that are my favorites? I mean, of course, Hero Quest, that's a given, but like that one's just a given. But as far as like newer games that I think are quick pull out ones, are definitely Ascension, which like it might be misleading in terms of what games I'm into, because I usually don't like deck builders, because with most deck builders, I'm sitting there reading the card every turn, and it takes forever. Ascension is the only deck builder I've ever played that moves fast and is easy to pick up. So that is, but yeah, that's just a much more broad answer. Is my gaming interest, as far as like my personal day-to-day stuff, has moved more from like, I will purchase an Exalted book because we play Exalted a lot, to like, give me all the board games. Oh wait, I gotta get rid of some of the board games. I don't have room anymore. So that's pretty much me. I will also shout out Malifaux, even though I haven't played it since the start of the pandemic. It was like one game within the last few years I definitely picked up and loved, and like would have definitely continued to play, but pandemic.
Stupid pandemic.
All
right, Steve, Monica, either you want to go next?
Yeah, do you want to go next, or do you want to bring up the rear?
I was going to bring up.
You're going to bring up the rear. Steve, James will be last.
I'd rather this end off with a bang, and I'll have my mediocrity in the middle.
Sure, go ahead.
That's all you ever bring to the show, Steve. Mediocrity.
I would say, I'm thinking about it real hard. It's hard to remember 10 years ago at this point. I wouldn't. Yeah, Exalted. probably would have been at the top of my list 10 years ago. That's
You ran a lot of
2012-ish.
Shadowrun then, too.
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
She's like,
I'm
Needlehead,
getting the
come on,
Shadowrun.
memory, work.
Well, the three are we're at all Phyllis's: Exalted, Pathfinder, and Shadowrun. Exalted because it felt like a system, or at least the way Monica presented it to us was it felt like a system that finally a system where I could do whatever I wanted, in essence. And that was a novel thing because my first RPGs were D&D, where things are very structured and you're on a grid, little squares, and playing the game conceptually in the mind space was a novel experience. I don't know if I had a game before that where we played things conceptually and we didn't have. I moved 10 feet and I whacked the guy with my axe. Anything like that. I could do high flying moves and I could be conceptually amazing. Then I was a drunk farting barbarian and it was the best.
Oh, I remember that one.
Then we had Ochre Fountain, which was something completely off the wall, and Monica enabled that, bent the rules so that my character scaled with the rest of the solar exalts in the game, and that was the best.
A god-possessed Dragonborn or Dinosaur King.
Dragon King.
Dragon King.
You were right the first time.
Oh.
Dragonborn, Dragon King, Dinosaur.
Something.
So, I think that just speaking, on a meta level, that I think that the experiences we have with people colors a lot what we think our best games are. A terrible game could be made great with a DM or GM who is willing to bend the bad rules toward good things. And people could say in the future, I really loved Bad System. And everybody will say, ew, you loved Bad System? What do you love about Bad System? And they would say, well, I just had great people to play with. And I've always been surrounded by great people to play with. I have nothing but great experiences with everyone. So on to 4th edition, which I never enjoyed, mechanically speaking, which is why I loved Pathfinder, because I kind of have a very strong grounding in 3.5, and Pathfinder was a rebirth of 3 and 3.5. There's a cat in Monica's lap, and it's the best.
It's Max. Yeah, he was yelling at me.
He's yelling. And Monica had a 4th edition game that was very enjoyable, but I still can't get beyond the mechanics in my head. Some people love it. A lot of people love it. And there's another cat on Katie's screen. There's a cat right here. It's cat o'clock.
Cat time.
Big 5 for the cat.
I got
and we're back
anymore.
So I loved the extra things that Pathfinder brought to this table in being competition with Wizards of the Coast for the time. Still the time. And in the way back when, Shadowrun was always a favorite of mine because of the setting and because it had that handful of dice mechanic that I just love. You just throw a handful of dice and it's the best. So if I have to pick 3 games or 3 systems, the gamey things down 10 years later, they would probably be Fate, and Fate. Of course, I think I've said this numerous times as we've done this show over the years that Fate just hits all of those. It scratches all of those itches that I just mentioned about Exalted and gives you even more freedom to do conceptually anything you wanted. Stretch your mind to the furthest limits within what the bounds of whatever the GM or the group says is acceptable for the setting, of course. And these games are always collaborative storytelling. You're here to tell an interesting story together. At least for these games in particular, unless you've picked up a module for D&D and it's the Tomb of Unknown Horrors or whatever the heck it is, and you're there to do a dungeon grind. The Tomb of Horrors or whatever it is like the most notorious module. I can't remember what it's called.
It's there just to wipe parties.
Yeah, it's there just exactly
joke.
that.
Fun fact: when it was originally run, when it was made to be a big challenge for the original group, no fatalities. It's not a joke. It's just that
you couldn't write it funnier than that, though. Like you said, it's not a joke, but like the joke couldn't possibly be funnier than that.
We've played a lot of games here that I've enjoyed over the years. James is the game. What was the game? Was it where I had the punching guy?
Oh, don't rest your head.
Don't rest your head.
Yeah.
That was an interesting
Wow.
concept. It would be interesting to go back and look at it that a little closer, just because that was a memorable moment and I could screw with something. Yeah. But there's been a lot of memorable things. Monica's Scion game that I ran, or at least experimented with Mistborn. That was fun. That we never got to really. Well, none of you got to hear, but it was fun.
The forever lost episode.
The forever lost episode.
Well, the lost ending. The other two parts came out.
That's all I got.
All right. Monica, go ahead.
Yeah, so 2012.
2010.
2010. Okay, 2010 it would have been like Exalted 4th edition.
Right.
And God, I don't know. 2010 Rogue Trader probably. Weapons of the Gods probably. Iron Heroes probably would have talked about my weird eternal crush on Iron Heroes. Which interestingly enough was
The
a
eternal crush.
I do. I have a every like 2 weeks I remember Iron Heroes exists and is on my shelf and I'm like, I love that game so much, and I literally played it once. And it was a D&D 3.5 clone. It was one of the D20 OGL things. But it was just like this weird semi-prehistoric setting, and like everyone's a martial hero. There's no spellcasters, and it's sort of like Dark Sun, but different.
Sounds nice.
Yeah. And like it kind of had a little bit of an Exalted high action vibe to it. And every so often I'm like, what if I remade Iron Heroes? And
So just for my own thing, is Iron Heroes a very different thing from Iron Kingdoms?
Yes.
Okay.
Very.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One steampunk, the other's not.
It's not.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know Iron Heroes, so
You know War Machine?
yes.
It's the setting for that.
I thought that was Iron Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iron Kingdoms is the setting for War Machine.
Right, but
Yeah.
I didn't know what Iron Heroes
Oh,
was.
Iron Heroes is the thing I just described. No martial, no spellcasters, all martial
okay.
heroes, kind of high action set in this weird dark,
okay.
like not medieval, but like almost not Neolithic, because I think people have metal weapons, but
Okay.
like it's a weird kind of supposed to have like a prehistory vibe to it, like
Oh, okay.
in the same sort of like semi-ancient world kind of vibe to Exalted.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I probably like in 2010, I certainly would have said Exalted 2nd edition. In 2012, I might have changed my mind.
Oh,
Yeah,
you were getting kind of tired of it at that point.
I got very tired of it, and then some like weird personal shit happened around it too, which I'm not gonna air dirty laundry on this stream.
Yeah.
And then I really didn't like 3rd edition when it came out. Like I really didn't like it at all. And I then like one of the dudes who was in charge of the original release of 3rd edition turned out to be a sex pest.
Oh,
So,
there's that.
There's that. And I just, for a while there, I was like, I think I'm done. It'll be a game I liked a lot. Everything has an ending, so on and so forth. Right. And then I got back. I the development changed hands. I got hired on to write for it. Someone actually showed me how to play it properly, and I liked it more than the weird abortive attempt to convert a very long running second edition campaign to third edition. Like, we were really high level characters. We probably should have just wrapped up that game and started a new one, but everybody really wanted to switch, and it was very hard to switch because we also were using characters that had stuff that wasn't even out yet because it was just the core book. Anyway, I broke up with Exalted for a while, but we're married again.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you two are back together.
Thanks. Yeah, so I was trying to think of other things, like what would I have been into in 2012? I don't think I'd played Apocalypse World yet. That's a little much later.
Not too much later, but
later, but later.
Yeah.
D&D 4E?
Probably still D&D 4E, yeah.
You ran your
yeah, I did, and that was
two
when I
campaigns,
and that was when I had first moved into 18. Yeah. So yeah, definitely.
Live streaming is on.
And we're back.
Huzzah.
Technical difficulties. Sorry, everybody.
Sorry about that. I was talking about D&D 4th edition would have jumped up to the top of my list in 2012. What else would I have been playing? Iron Kingdoms?
I thought I said Iron Heroes.
No, I'm talking about 2012. So 2 years later, after having a crush on Iron Heroes.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
I think I had a crush on Iron Kingdoms, but I can't remember.
That would have that would have been the 2012.
2012. So
when did we go to Gen Con, James?
That was the year we went to Gen Con.
That was the new system of Iron Kingdoms. Yep.
Yeah. Which I would have played, and I may have really liked.
It was interesting because they used more of the mechanics of the tabletop game.
Yeah,
which was a very interesting idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to stop trying to guess what I was into in 2012. That was a very transitory period of my life.
Malifaux, you were into?
No, that's 2016 and onward.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's too early for that. So currently, I just said Exalted and I are back together, so I probably would have to give that one to Essence, which again is sort of cheating because we made it.
Is Essence out though?
It is available for pre-order on BackerKit.
Okay.
I'm
looking for my copy.
Yeah,
I'm looking for my copy, and I'm like,
not out yet.
Where's mine?
The finished version is not out yet. You can work from the manuscript copy is fully available to backers and pre-orderers. So
just don't send Monica your questions.
Yes, just please don't send me your questions. The audience is all people who talk to me anyway. So you're fine.
You other listener who watches this later.
Anybody else who's watching this later, don't solicit me with. Don't send any unsolicited questions. I won't answer you. So there's that. And I put a lot of direction as the developer into making Essence feel the way all of you remember my campaigns playing.
I have listened to the podcast you did with Terry and the GM, the story told GM. Yeah, yes. And that was really interesting going through all your stuff and then doing the actual play kind of thing at the end. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a systematic understanding of everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That was really good. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. My other two favorite games is very hard for me to say. What I guess Through the Breach has to get an honorable mention.
That you love it.
I do love it. That's the Malifaux.
Eternal love.
That's the Malifaux settings RPG, which uses Malifaux's card system, which is very fun. And I wish I was playing more Malifaux too. Hey, you should come over and we should play.
We should play.
Yeah.
I don't even know if my stuff is still good now, if the system has changed or
I never bothered to get kind of good at 3rd edition at all, so we were on the same level. Don't worry.
Excellent.
Is my stuff good? I don't know. I played Malifaux 2nd edition competitively, and that's exhausting. And I just don't have the spoons to do the tournament grind.
Yeah.
And so I just decided I wasn't gonna for this edition, and I'm gonna have fun instead.
Exactly.
That's the important part.
Yeah, it is it's the most important part. If you're gonna spend a ton of money on your hobby, and minis are kind of expensive, you better enjoy it. You better. That's a threat.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I like a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse games. They are not all created equal.
No.
I like the original. I know Adam, what's his face, turned out to be a piece of shit, but I actually like Dungeon World.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah.
He did, but the game is still pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
There. Yeah, I know that there's like some things that are very 2010 about it, but like, you know, the rules themselves are pretty good.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about, not about the stuff that's kind of embarrassing. Man, I haven't gotten to play a lot of variety of stuff. I've kind of been living in the Exalted Monkey Houses. I've literally spent like the last 2 years making Essence.
Yeah, that and Scion. You've been.
Yeah, I did a lot of work on Scion, and I did a lot of work on Scion and Trinity Continuum, and they're both systems I think are pretty great.
Assassins is coming out, right?
Yes, Assassins is available for purchase.
Oh,
There is an early version of the PDF that's out. It went through an errata phase. We caught all like just that's where the fans.
And that's heavily you, right?
It is a lot of me. I'm one of the developers. I had an excellent partner in my friend Violet, and then like a lot of the crew who worked on Essence also worked on Assassins, plus some other people.
Hello.
Yeah, including
Yay.
you. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But I've never actually gotten a chance to play Trinity Continuum. So I don't think you can.
I have the books.
Yeah,
I have
either. I have. Is also like right here next to me. Yeah, so I'm not going to give an honorable mention to an honorable mention to a game that I haven't played. Stars Without Number. Kevin Crawford's system, Stars Without Number, Godbound. And I was going to play on the Worlds Without Number game, but I just had too much going on and couldn't commit to 2 games in a week, so I had to drop that one. That was the one where we didn't. Oh, it was either that or the established game, and I had to stop when we were between stuff. So I'm missing out on Worlds Without Number, which seems like a bummer because it sounds like you're all having a lot of fun. I make Heather tell me about it after game.
We miss you.
I'll be back. Don't worry.
Sylvan Vixen says a lot of the Essence crew are actually assassins.
Checks out. Yeah, it's true.
So
they're the adherents of the Blessed Master.
Oh, I don't know what that means, but I'm intrigued.
It's a reference to something in Assassins.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I will
take it
bring
away.
up the rear of this question.
Yeah.
So 12 years ago, I was definitely into Shadowrun. 4th edition was the big edition out at that point. 4th edition D&D, which I did actually enjoy. I really liked the whole power thing, choosing your stuff as you level up, customization. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a lot better done than it could have been. That was right about the time. Yeah, Fate was just starting to come out. I hadn't really sunk my teeth into it. So it would probably be New World of Darkness, Hunter and Mage, Hunter the Vigil and Mage the Awakening. The first editions of those would have been my favorites because I was running Hunter at conventions at the time, Regulator Con and stuff like that. Flash forward to 12 years now. Cortex. I am really, 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 really into Cortex. I really love it. I love the modular portion of it. I like that I can just kind of dial in whatever I want. It's very Fate-like in that aspect. Fate lets you turn knobs. This lets you turn knobs. The new the Chronicles of Darkness, the 2nd edition versions of all the NWAD stuff, I'm really into. I got right back into that once Hunter went to Kickstarter. I had not played any Chronicles previous to that, and I have fallen in love. I love it. It just, the streamlined system just clicks with me. I really like it. Now, running Mage and changing has been challenging because Mage is still a very hard game to get around with all the spell casting and stuff like that and how it's done. I do like it better than Ascension. Most people call that heresy. But I think Awakening spell system for 2nd edition is really, really interesting. And you can do a whole lot with it. And then Hunter 2nd edition is definitely, like I said, that got me back into Chronicles. That's where I'm at. Like, I just ran a Hunter game for a convention while it was still Kickstarter release and had a good time with it. And Powered by the Apocalypse. That'd be my 3rd favorite now. I really, really enjoy Worldwide Wrestling. I'm not a wrestling fan. I don't watch wrestling.
Ooh, I want to add
But I
that to
love to run that game, and I love having players who just want to have fun with it.
Definitely would add that to my list as well. Because I was thinking, there was one I was trying to remember, and that's what it was.
This is one of the reasons I'm sort of sad about this. That we're ending this now, even though we haven't recorded in a year, because I really just want to talk to you about World Wide Wrestling and my practical problems with it. Even though I think it's a brilliant game, I love it. But this is not the episode for that. So.
Have you looked at 2nd edition?
Okay, yeah, and the issue.
No, we'll talk about it later.
You know, we could just talk to each other.
What?
What? No.
Let's just get on a voicemail.
If we haven't scheduled it and not recording it, I don't want to talk to you guys.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, you have to talk to my manager.
You died, fully monetized.
My manager is down there too.
My manager.
All of mine are sleeping. I hope they stay up there. Okay. But those would be my top 3. In general, PBTA, Cortex, and Chronicles of Darkness. Those are my top 3. So that was a very long question. Okay. So while we're talking about the podcast, let's talk about. Some of it has already been kind of mentioned, but not everyone has the answer to this question. But are there any episodes or series that are in the backlog that you really enjoyed making? Any of them that still stand out to you today? So I apparently double posted this question. Closer Look series, favorite mechanic for ... GM Toolkit, interviews, some of the specials we did, and the AP review and postmortem stuff. Did any of those things stick out to you as something that you enjoyed? Any particular episode?
So for me, I just loved whenever we got to talk about games and mechanics, and both in the abstract and in practical advice. And honestly, that's one of those things that made me sad when we started just to do more AP stuff. And I understood that was more people really like APs in a way they don't like hearing a bunch of nerds talk about gaming stuff that may not relate to them. But so for me, it was like the GM's guide stuff, like the GM advice stuff, and and I actually really like doing the postmortem too of Mistborn and stuff. But I like talking about games, and it's one of those things that in real life it's often a choice between, hey, do you want to talk about games? We're going to play something, so we're going to play something. But I like having the opportunity just to talk about them. Especially with multiple of my friends, and so that was something that I really liked, and I honestly wish we got to do more of. And Monica says we can just talk to people. I guess that sounds fake, but people who are
outdated ideas,
people who are willing to talk about them and not just go, I don't know, sure, And I love all my players, but a lot of times, as games go on, things are just like, oh, I know what I want my character to do. Heather will will explain how to do that, and that's the game loop, and that's fine, and I have a lot of fun with that. But I also like when hey, why does the game work this way? What does the game actually do? Versus what am I doing in the moment comes up, and so that's definitely talking about that stuff was some of my favorite parts of 1d4Cast.
Oh, that's great. Anyone else want to take this question?
I kind of have to agree with Heather on that. I really do love talking game mechanics, especially when you find a system you love and just delving into the mechanics and chatting about them. It really, for me, it helped bring a closer love of things. And it's actually taught me a lot more about why I like gaming too, and certain things. Because I take some of those experiences and I look at new stuff and I'm like, okay, this is why I like it, because it feels like this mechanic works this way and how things build. So I enjoyed that. But I also enjoyed like just being exposed to new systems. I mean, that is often the hardest thing for gamers, really, because everybody wants to be the player. Not many people want to be the GM.
Yeah.
And like the wrestling game example right there, Powered by the Apocalypse, I would be like, oh, I would never want to run that. And when James ran that, I was like, I really like Powered by the Apocalypse. I found I was just like, didn't expect that.
I bought a copy of Masks because you ran it for me.
Yeah, like just exposure to new stuff, and it's kind of helped me like look at things, look at other ideas and such, and it's just kind of something I've been really liked. Like we did, like just the exposure is the biggest thing, because everyone's like, oh, we only play D&D. Oh, we only play Exalted. Oh, we only play Pathfinder. Like, there's so many awesome systems out there. I just loved getting the exposure for all of them.
You never know where you're going to find a little hidden gem somewhere.
Yeah.
Somebody turns over a rock for you, and what? This is pretty great.
Yeah.
Or even like the concept that you have to spend so much money on gaming. Like if it's D&D, well, you have to buy this book and then you have to buy all these expansion books, and each book costs $50. Then you have something like Fate that is like just this little paperback thing, and I think there are games where you could just download it online. Like gaming does not have to be an expensive hobby either, and that is something that we've talked about a bit over the years as well. Like just sometimes you don't need all the expansions and lots of fancy mechanics to be able to just have a solid game.
That's
do
true.
support the developers, though.
Yes.
Do support
Sure.
the developers.
Yeah. But I'm saying like you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars to play a game.
But I want to play Fantasy Fight Star Wars. I want to
No,
pay
you
$150 just to play the game.
I don't think they have the license anymore.
No, they don't.
I'm like, wait a minute. What year was that?
At one point, I owned most of that line. I think we ran it 3 times, maybe 2.5 to 3, like including character generation. And those are some gorgeous ass books, and I still regret selling them.
Oh.
I still want to pick up the WEG release. I'm like, I really want to get that.
They got one at Adventurers Guild, Paul. Just come up here and pick it up.
Oh, let's see, 4.5-hour drive. Woo!
Hey, no, you're really good. You know the owner. Just call him up. Say, hey, Rich.
Does he still own it?
Rich? No, it's Jason.
Oh,
yeah.
Never mind. I'm sorry.
I thought Rich got out, and I was like, I knew he sold to someone who I used to know as Jason. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you know Jason, so.
Well, not as well.
Okay. Anyway, anyone else want to answer this question?
You said episode or series, right?
Or series, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My favorite single episode was actually a couple episodes. Is the history of D&D.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I think that's probably our best episode.
Okay. Yeah, that was a D&D special.
Yeah, we did like a Christmas special.
Yeah, and I think we did it 2 episodes. So it was like, yeah.
Part 1 and part 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because we did the first, like the old D&D and then post 3D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is a good topic. We have a lot of really thoughtful things to say. It's very informative if you're curious about the history of the hobby. I would hesitate even to call it well researched.
No, I wouldn't say that.
No, let's not go that far.
But yeah, so our backlog will stay active for a while. I'm gonna look into how to move it to archive.org before I take down anything of the site. So so definitely reference episodes. Like people will still be able to hear them.
I guess I'll second to Heather and the idea of the postmortems in general, because hey, I'm not a huge knowledgeable gamer. I am the person that'll look at Heather during a game and be like, "Can I do this?" So for me, being on this podcast, I often feel kind of like, oh, what do I bring to this other than occasional nonsense? So the postmortem episodes to me, it's like, okay, I just played this game with everybody else, and I feel like I can give some good, solid input uh, as a person who actually just played this game. So
True fact.
yeah. So I
That
did
was
like,
the whole idea behind the AP review and
Yeah.
postmortem, is because we had stopped running out of systems that we all knew, and it was a way to get everyone to play a system and then review it together because they just played it.
yeah.
That was the original idea behind that.
Sneaky.
Yeah. It didn't work out so well because it took a lot of time and kind of had other things happen.
Yeah.
But I think we got about 5 full things out there. So
Yeah, good.
all right. I would say that I'm with Henry actually. Well, I did like the AP review and thing because that was just really something I really wanted to try. The closer mechanical look at whatever series was one of my favorites when we talked about resolving conflict, and we all brought our own RPG to the table and talked about it. And then another one was social mechanics. Another one was all that kind of stuff, skills, all that kind of stuff. I thought that was a really, really fun, really interesting way to get everyone involved and everyone could bring something different to the table. All right.
For myself,
yeah.
One, did we laugh our asses off during the episode? If yes, it was a good episode.
Too many dirt skirts I can think of her antics. Yeah.
Memories.
All right. Okay, so let's move in. Anyone else have anything else to say before we move?
No.
Okay. To kind of skirt tails of that topic. Well, of all the APs that we played together, including the old early ones, or the AP review stuff, what was your favorite to play? Any favorite moments? Anything like that? And there's a follow-up after this. Actually, you know what? We'll just say, in that vein, after that, any systems that you would want to run and would if given the chance.
I'm trying to remember all the APs we did.
Same here.
I think
confused with this follow-up.
I would say, I mean, I think just for me, one of the most interesting is the one I believe Stephen already mentioned. Was it No Rest for the Wicked?
Don't rest your
head. Don't rest your head.
Well,
Yeah.
Monica did run No Rest.
No
for the
Rest for
Wicked.
the Wicked. Yeah. But yeah, Don't Rest Your Head. I liked that idea. I forget. I think I got something went off at the end of the game, but in general, it's one of those that I kind of would be interested to go back to, and it was a game that I'd never heard of before. And I mean, I do tend to obviously lean towards games with the silly, but I don't get to do enough games that have a bit of a scary too, or a bit of an unease. Like we didn't do this on the podcast, but I really liked the one time we came to your place, James, and played Dread. I really enjoyed that, and that's like I've got my be silly, be weird, but I also have that little need for horror that itch doesn't get scratched enough.
Katie, we gotta play Sleepaway.
Yes. What? Yeah. It has. Yes.
Yes.
Is that also right over here? I made a
her infinite library of books. It's one shelf, and she just pulls all her books off of it.
Yeah, I made a bunch of other things appear with a flick of my wrist that I don't think is the way to appear.
With a sly flourish.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
I think
Go ahead.
my favorite AP was actually Fiasco.
No, I was lying.
Hey.
It was under advanced lovers and lesbians. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, H. Go ahead.
But Fiasco was a good time. I had never gotten to play it before, and while for a lot of stuff, I don't know if a touchstone for indie game play is correct, but like a lot of people have played it, and it's as far as just games about telling a weird, messed up story, it certainly delivered. I also think that the short format for it was ideal for a podcast, for our podcast in particular. And as somebody who often, like I've said, gets drained by playing online, it was one of the ones I was happy with experiencing. So that'd be my vote.
That was a good time.
That was a really good time.
As someone who didn't actually play the game, I just kind of helped facilitate. I still had a good time. Go ahead, Steve.
That was a really great time. I forgot about Fiasco.
Yeah, so,
I would say for me, I'm good. I know the wrestling game. It was just so much fun. I never realized how much I just enjoyed the theatrics and such of it. So, and how it actually fits into a role playing game. I was like, wow, this is just like a match made in heaven. So that for me would be one of the ones I just really loved. Because it was like you go that whole theatrical, over the top level of craziness, but it still was like real world people working through real world stuff, situations you have to kind of deal with, and everything. I was like, I kind of like that weird mix. Like it was a mix. I was like, I didn't think this would work, but yeah, that worked.
Yeah. So our very first actual play was released June of 2012, and it was right. It was right. I think we recorded it right before. No, we played it at my the night before I got married. It was OD&D Castle Amber. No, wait, no, we did Wilderness of Mirrors.
Yeah, we played Wilderness of
Wilderness
Mirrors.
of Mirrors.
Yeah.
But no, so OD&D Castle Amber was our first one. We did Wilderness of Mirrors. We did Barbarians of Lemuria, which I really enjoyed that game. We did Shadowrun. We had one game of that. It didn't. We just kind of couldn't really do much more with that. You ran 2 games of No Rest for the Wicked. Right after you had written it. I ran some Vampire 20th Anniversary stuff, and I ran the wrestling game. And then for our AP review, the first one was Fiasco. Then it was Masks.
Oh yeah.
Then it was Don't Rest Your Head. Then it was Scion, and then it was Mistborn. Those were the 5 that we did. So,
Yeah, Mask was fun too.
Yeah, I don't think I played in the Masks one or the Don't Rest Your Head one. I don't think I was.
yeah, those are the 2 that you missed,
Yeah.
and then I didn't do anything after Don't Rest Your Head because I didn't have the time to join it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Mask one really wants me to go play the Avatar system now. Actually,
Of the ones I can remember participating in, because you named all these things, and I'm like, I don't even remember what happened in half of this.
We were mostly drunk in Wilderness of Mirrors.
Yes, true. That was just that is a terrible, like, if you enjoy.
I don't even know if you can listen to it.
Yeah, I don't
It
even.
might-
It might be gone, but it was recorded on a shitty. H, please move your mic away from your snoot.
Oh,
Thanks.
sorry. No, I mean it's still available to listen to, but I don't recall if the quality is any good.
Oh no, I'm telling you,
Because-
it's not.
Yeah, okay.
oh, if we're just so drunk, you know,
Yeah.
you can't.
Well, we surely recorded it on a computer mouse, not computer mic I like had in my backpack.
Yeah.
So like, and that was like one of those old gateway like computer mics that was like a long stick with a bulb on the end. There's no way that quality is any good. And it was just like plunked down in the center of the room, and like there's no professional equipment at all. It is just 6 very drunk young people playing Wilderness of Mirrors to a shitty computer mic. And if you need that energy in your life, go ahead and dig it up, but I don't recommend it for you.
I love that game though.
And that was really fun.
But yeah, so Henry ran Castle Amber for us. All right, yeah, Heather ran Castle Amber. You ran Wilderness of Mirrors, Monica.
It's like you're pointing at the screen.
Yeah, no, I'm pointing at her on my screen. Yeah.
To me,
you-
just pointing off into the other monitor. I'm like, what do you want over there?
Steve
James?
ran Shadowrun, I think. And yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's and then the whole thing that I don't have on there is you ran 2 groups side by side for D&D 4th edition.
Yes, but
That's still available. I just didn't have it listed.
was the whole thing recorded?
Yeah. Let me double check. Those who would be
Those would be kings. Yeah. Don't
14.
listen to
Group 2 part 14.
that. Oh wow.
And group 1 part 13. So maybe it didn't finish.
I don't think it finished. I don't think
We
we ever
never
finished
finished
the
it.
whole thing.
No.
But 14. Wow. Don't listen to that.
Paul ran the first episode of Kingmaker, which everyone actually kept asking us to finish, and I was like, I'm sorry. That was the first edition Pathfinder Kingmaker.
The second edition. So second edition is coming out next month, and it's stores. I talked to people in stores, and they're like, we are sold out.
Nice.
So that would be another fun one to run again. Ooh.
All right. Let's see here. Anything else that we want to move into? Okay. So has the podcast changed your life in any positive or significant way?
I mean, you could probably say we wouldn't have 1d4Con without 1d4Cast.
That's very true.
That is
Yeah.
too accurate.
Yeah, that has definitely changed. I think all of our lives, at least on some level.
Yeah, we get a lot. Looking forward to being back in con again.
Yeah.
I think it's accurate to say that the connection that got Monica and I, me eventually into freelancing, came through one of the early 1d4Cast things, isn't it?
Sort of.
Yeah, so
We did interview Monica and Neil.
We did, yeah. But Neil, this was somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, there's that, yeah. And you know, being one of the like earliest tabletop podcasts, like we
were definitely among the early. We were not the first.
We're not
yeah.
not the
No,
first,
no.
but among them, like
Yeah.
before everybody had a tabletop podcast. Like
Right.
we were there before it was cool, and so it was also a thing for. Hey, babe, mute yourself.
My allergies are acting up too. I'm
It's all
like,
good.
Yeah,
It's
it's
all
all good. But what was I saying? Right, so like also having a little bit of being like, oh, I'm one of the people who does 1d4Cast as a credit, basically, for getting into those spaces and then winding up where I am now.
Oh well, I'm glad that
Yeah.
happened. I didn't know that I didn't know this had anything to do with that, but I'm glad that happened.
So I kind of came into 1d4Cast late after some staff changes had happened. And it's just the exposure to so many new systems and like that. I'm like, it's like, wow. It's a lot of fun. A lot of new things I found I enjoyed. And just to be able to actually get to try them out has been the hardest thing because it's like, hey, I got this system. We only want to play this one. Okay, I'm not going to say no. Anybody else want to try this one?
outside of 1d4Con, which I would say is probably the biggest thing to come out of this, I have met a ton of other really awesome podcasters. My friendship circles have grown significantly since we started, and I think that's awesome because it's a very diverse group of people out there that are doing this now. I mean, as Monica said, everyone has their own podcast now, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are some really good ones out there that are still shining. There's some out that started before us that still are going. Happy Jacks and Fear of the Boot are the two I can think of that are still actually running as podcasts. Everything else is kind of pod faded for the most part, or just ended. And that's where I didn't want us to pod fade. That is the biggest thing. We've been doing this for a long time, and I didn't want to pod fade. I wanted to actually go out sort of on, our terms rather than saying, oh yeah, we just never post another episode, whatever. But no, definitely, yeah, 1d4Con is the biggest impact to my life from this. But I'm glad you guys got extra career gigs and stuff like that through it. That's great. I'm happy for that. I had no idea. Let's see here. I guess it's kind of, if anyone wants to follow, have tabletop games influenced other parts of your life at all? I don't know if that's a valid question after this. I think I kind of answered it. But I didn't know if anyone wanted to add on with that.
Just tabletops in general, you mean?
Yeah, tabletop games in general.
So growing up, I was in the jock thing through high school and such, and I would look at these people playing role-playing games all the time and be like, "Oh, a bunch of nerds," and I'd be like, "I really want to go and play." It's like, I really want to go try this. What is it? Dungeons and Dragons? It looks like fun. Oh, yeah, you can't do that. And it was just such like that. So when I finally did get to play one time with James, Steve, and Doug.
Doug. Oh my goodness. Yes.
That's a throwback name.
That is a throwback.
That's a throwback name. At that point I was just like, because I had bought some books and I read them. I didn't understand them. I didn't realize you need the core book to actually make them work. I just bought the expansions and thought that would work. But I fell in love with it from that game on, and it's like with 2012. No, not 2012. 2020. A lot of life changes happened for me all at once. All at once.
Mm.
And role-playing games really helped me through it. I was still able to, even though there's a pandemic going on, I would go to stores and still play the organized play stuff in a mask and a face shield, a mask, 6 feet apart with dividers, still trying to do that because it was like I really need that social interaction, and role-playing games helped me through a lot of things. And it's even still, I'm like opening up new doors in my life, and I'm like, I kind of feel I can use role-playing games to help me deal with a lot of that stuff too, which has been very helpful.
That's awesome, Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think it would just easy answer is just friendships. I mean, most of my local friends are in one way or another through gaming. Maybe a little bit of anime club, but yeah, for the most part, people locally know me because I'd game with them, which is funny. The occasions when I've Because no, like I went to college farther away, and I have a group of friends up there, and when they come down here, occasionally there is a mix of the two groups of friends, and it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, these people know me from theater, these people know me from gaming. What will happen when the two meet? Oh, it's fine. But yeah, no, just friendships. Easy answer. There are so many people that I am friends with, and a lot of it has to do with gaming. Like, I don't know if I would be as close to some of you were it not for gaming. Love you guys. Steven, I hate you.
I hate you too.
Sibling love.
In all its glory.
I wouldn't know Steven without gaming.
That actually,
Hey.
I thought it was Anime Club.
That was a gateway drug.
Yeah.
Role-playing games taught me, I don't know how much it taught me about it, but it has been a reinforcing factor for collaboration. And that's become a major focus for me. And even over the past, even recent few years, I've become much more interested in hearing other people be awesome. Because you start out life and I don't know, I say you. Maybe it's a me thing. You become, you are self-centered in a way. You want your character to be awesome, and you want to have the spotlight, and you can't wait for the next cool thing that you're going to do. But I've tried to make it a practice, not just in my attempts or my approach to role-playing games, but hopefully it's a reinforcing thing for the rest of my life also, outside and away from the table, is to help others try to be awesome. My last few my games, mostly in really my whole role-playing experience has been with Heather's games. I've been making a very concerted effort to step back from the limelight, because the first game that we played, that was with local friends up there, it was Anissa, Monica, Katie, and myself. I noticed myself being very controlling over the narrative. I tried to do this or that, and I would say, "No, it's a dumb idea. We'll do this instead." And I tried to do that, and I noticed myself doing that. So I'm like, "This is a problem for me. I'm stealing the limelight from people." So I made an effort to step back. I've made more characters that try to play the background, try to play the supportive roles, and I'm playing a character now that just sort of rolls with most of what happens, and it's interesting always to see more people step up and try to insert their own narratives into things. And what this is supposed to be is collaborative storytelling, and it's been a very valuable growth experience for me. And I understand that it's sort of the thing that is supposed to be one of those positive aspects of role-playing games that, I don't know, the official channels of like WotC or something tell parents that you should get your kids into role-playing games because it's collaborative experience and it helps kids with group activities in the future, so that you can work together better in groups. You work collaboratively and you listen to everybody's ideas. Who knows if that actually happens? But it certainly is the case for me. Now, I've had experiences in the past where I've worked a really long time ago. I was part of a collaborative storytelling board in one of the first online forums, which was a very fun experience for me, but that sort of prepared me for RPGs in general, getting into my first experience with like second edition D&D, when a couple guys in middle school were like, here's AD&D. We should try this. I'm like, okay, I'll play a fighter, whatever. And I was playing Dragonlance, so.
It's cat time again.
It's cat time. Put the cat.
It's time for them to be fed.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then before we close this out, are there any RPG related projects that anyone's working on, endeavors, projects, whatever, that you're able to talk about that you want to elaborate on at the end of this show here?
Back and pre-order Exalted Essence and buy Assassins on Drive-Thru RPG.
Yes.
I'm helping out with a lot of reviews of some of the new Pathfinder classes. I'm not under NDA currently, so like the kineticists and such. And that's about all I'm doing. Not really. It's just testing mechanics, not creating mechanics. But
okay.
Throwing them into a blender and saying like, "This don't work."
Yeah.
Support small creators. Support your artists. Screw the corporations.
Screw the corporation.
Under an NDA, I can't say anything.
So, along with encouraging people to do that, and at the same time going, "Hey, Exalted Essence and Assassins are really cool." I'm also working on something for Onyx Path called Aegis, which is like an ancient world, weird sci-fi setting in the Trinity universe, which also includes assassins and stuff, which would be really cool.
Aegis, as in spelled like the Greek word for shield.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Heroics and strangeness in a ancient world that never was. If you're into that sort of thing, give it a look. And we already said, "Hey, buy Exalted Essence," but buy Exalted Essence.
I'm waiting for my Kickstarter.
Yeah.
You already bought it, Paul. You're good.
I
I got
got
your
a double.
money. You're dead now. Go ahead.
Oh, dead to me. I got your money. I got like a double. Wait, I'll give you a second then.
No. So while this podcast is shutting down, I am working on a thing where I'm gonna try and run a lot of the games that are behind me that I haven't got to ever touch. So I might release them as not videos, but as audio files through this feed. Maybe, I don't know. Might set up something new. I haven't fully decided yet, but I do have a goal to hopefully get through a bunch of these that I haven't got to play in a while or haven't ever got to play. Because I back a lot of Kickstarters, but I don't get to run a lot of those games. and I don't have a group that I play in, so if I'm the only way I'm gonna get to touch it is if I run it. So, but thank you, all of you. It's been a long time since I've been on any kind of episode with you guys. As I was saying, like for H and Monica, it's been like 2 years. It was like the end of 2019 was the last time that we actually recorded together. Fiasco.
We need to try to hang out sometime, hopefully in the not too distant future. Schedules allowing, which is always the kicker.
I say, like, I mean, even especially if we don't get to have another in-person 1d4Con next year, it would be nice if we could, I don't know, get together for a weekend or something like that and do something stupid. Preferably stupid.
Stupid.
We could try that talking to each other thing I recommended earlier.
You shut your mouth.
Talking, shut your mouth.
No, that's a valid idea. Like I was talking to Monica, it was right before the last online 1d4Con. We were going through how to use a certain Discord bot, and I was like, I haven't talked to you in years, Monica. This is amazing. So yeah, definitely. I definitely want to keep touch with everybody. And I mean, Discord will allow us to do that,
Sure.
as most of us are moving away from Facebook and stuff like that. I'm only really still there for Facebook for 1d4Con and was there for 1d4Cast. So
Yeah, screw that place.
Hmm.
but
That's how I reach my family and certain people. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I'm happy to finally have closure to this thing that we all started 12 years ago. And I'm sad that it's ending, but I'm happy to know that we're all able to move on. We all have things that we're doing. We all have I'm especially proud of Monica and H for moving into the developer writing world for my favorite hobby, and I get to play your games. I think that's awesome. And I
get
look
to point
forward.
the name and brag. I know this person. It has happened a couple times in the Exalted game. I was like, I know this person.
Nice gesture.
Thank you. You're like, that person ran games for me.
But yeah, so this has been a good way to, I think, culminate everything to an end. And I'm thankful for all of you being able to show up. I wish we could have had John on here, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I tried to reach out to him, but it just didn't work out. That would have been a blast from the past to have him back here.
So
John Foster died in his way back to his home planet.
Rode off into the sunset.
He's good. He's playing guitar, playing video games. I don't know. I think, Paul, have you seen him? I think you were the one who saw. Didn't you say you were gaming with him at some point?
Caught a sighting of a Foster in the
Maybe
wild.
not? Okay, never mind.
I mean, like
12 years ago.
Yeah, well, 10.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I have
That's
not
cool.
really
Yeah,
seen
he's
him.
vibing.
All right.
Oh.
But thank you for the 6, concurrent listeners that we still have. We did get up to
We got up to 7.
we
I
got
think.
up to 16 views, but
Okay.
we had 6 concurrent viewers, which I think is pretty great, for not posting any episodes in the last year or so.
Awesome.
So thank you for joining
Thanks
us.
for
We
coming,
really
everybody.
appreciate it.
To everybody
Thank you, yeah.
here and to everybody who watches the VOD, you are loved, and we love you. Don't
Hell
never
yeah.
forget that.
Yeah. Let's see. So Quantum Kind says, our pleasure. Congrats on what you all have accomplished over the years, including friendship.
And we hope to see as many people as possible at the next 1d4Con.
Yeah.
We get Quicksilver Fox has been a pleasure. Marion McBride says heart. And then Herring says thank you for streaming for us. So thank you all very much. And this is the end.
Good night, everybody. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are.
Good night out there, whatever
Wherever you are.
I'll test him off at the end. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good
All right.
night.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. This